Hello everyone, Happy New Year. So in the last few entries of The Orphan Hunt, chapter 5 from my book Cut and the Breath of Life, if there's anyone who is watching this video and you are not yet caught up or you haven't read my book, you can just visit my website tuva.com to read it. So in the last few entries, I introduced the 12 basic dueling spells. So let's talk about them. And first thing is going to be why. Why did I decide to create this structure? And that was because, originally I finished writing this book Cut and the Breath of Life. I finished writing it in 2022. I started 2020, June 2020, and I finished 2022. Yet, and when I first finished it that first time, there was only one fight in it, and that was between Barbara and Blessing in the second to last chapter. And since back then I didn't have any rules or any spells for fighting or anything, when I was writing that fight, I remember I was in the hostel that time, so I was just moving from one. I'll move from one person to another. One of my roommates, somebody who's from not from my room, and I was just asking them yeah, listen, if there is a fight where two magicians are fighting, and obviously since their power is magic, they can do anything. What should they do, or what would they do in a fight? You get, and it was from all those kind of feedback or ideas I was getting that I used to write that fight. Since basically they can do anything, you get. So around 223, I came back to edit it. Then 225 was when I started planning book 2. And when I was planning that book 2, I now realized that book 2 is going to be too long. So let me take some chapters from book 2 and add them in book 1. You get, and that's when I got the idea for that's where to find them and the orphan hunt that I'm currently writing and other chapters. And I decided to add, and I think around that time I was also doing this thing. I was also planning how I was going to publish. And since obviously I don't have any readers, no one knows me, I decided that okay, let me kind of build up to the publication. So what I decided I was going to do is I'm going to be releasing, let's say, a chapter and entry weekly like I'm doing now, so that maybe I'll be gathering readers up to the point where I'll now publish. And since back, I'm a huge manga fan, so I read manga weekly and all that. So I got the idea from there that if I'm going to be releasing weekly, I think it's going to be important to be putting some fights in some chapters and entries, because if it's all talk, no one will be interested. That's why I now decided, okay, I'm going to add more fights in my record. And since I'm going to add more fights, I need to have rules for fight and spells that, okay, magicians are going to turn to. And at the beginning of every fight, you know that these are the spells that will be used. And it's not how someone uses them, how creatively they use them, or how skilled they use them, that they will win that fight. So for crafting the 12 basic spells themselves, I did not really know it was going to be 12. At first I wanted 7, then I wanted 9, then I wanted, but the first idea came from, because I'm actually a PUBG player, you get, and in PUBG, if you have your guns, you have your throwables, and you still have things you take to heal yourself. Like for guns, usually you have 3 slots for guns in PUBG. That's, you have assault rifle, you carry assault rifle in one slot, then another slot you are supposed, or you are advised to carry maybe a sniper for long range or a shotgun. But usually it's assault rifle in one of your this thing, then sniper, then after that you now carry pistol in case you run out of bullet, or if some of the event you carry something like a jetpack or something to help you fly. Yeah, those are the 3 weapons for shooting. Then for throwing, you have the Molotov cocktail, you have the smoke grenade, and you have this thing. You have the normal grenade with smoke grenade, Molotov, and normal grenade. They also have smoke grenade, normal grenade, Molotov cocktail, and stun grenade, but nobody used to use stun grenade. Those are 4 or 3. Then at the same time, when it comes to your health, you have your med kits, you have your pills you can take. Those are the ones like energy, and whenever your life is low, that energy will be passively healing you. Then you now have this thing, you have what's the name, bandages that will be healing you small by small. So I took that idea, 3 that one is for attack, one is for a different kind of attack, the one is for protecting yourself, and say okay, I'm going to have 9 dueling spells, right? Attack, that's why I now segregated them between attack, defense, and derail. Then for the spells themselves, Obviously, if you read this book at all, or you watch any of my previous videos, you know that you know that Harry Potter inspired the way I think and I write. You get. So I got some of my spells from Harry Potter since I thought some of them were very good. Like in, I think, book 5, there was a time this woman Umbridge used a spell to break the wall of the room of requirements, and the spell she used was Bombarda Maxima. That's where I got it. I said, okay, this is going to be the first spell that will be the first attacking spell. Then for defense, for the real, I think, for defense, I think I still got Protego from Harry Potter. That's a shield spell, but I don't know exactly where I got Protego. I know that there was a time Harry used I think there was a time he used Protego and a disarming spell didn't work on him or something. But I know I got Protego from Harry Potter. I just don't know exactly where. That was the shield spell. That would be the first defensive spell. Then for derail, this thing was Harry Potter's signature spell. That's it, to disarm someone. That's Expelliarmus, right? So that was my first 3: attack, defense, derail, right? So I still needed 2 more to complete them 3-3. I wanted to add this Avada Kedavra, the killing curse, as a second derail, but I thought maybe since it's just something to kill, it's going to be more powerful. That's why I now decided that instead of 9, it's going to be 12 this spell. Then the forgivable curses will now be the 10, 11, and 12. So since I have a spell that is like bombard, that's something that will just shoot like a fireball or something, and I say, okay, I need something like a beam. Because if you watch any this thing, there's always that, like in Avatar where Zuko versus Azula, where they just be shooting fire at each other, and that kind of like that beam struggle you get is like something you want, like a spectacle, something that people just enjoy watching, like a beam pushing all this, someone is close to losing, that kind of thing. So I wanted that. Even Dumbledore versus Voldemort, Harry versus Voldemort in book, in I think in Goblet of Fire, right? That I wanted that beam spell, right? So I now decided that okay, I'll have a beam spell, and I got the beam spell. I've forgotten how exactly I got this, but I think the spell is Idiot Scintillis or something. That's because I think earlier I had a fire spell that was Igdientis or something. And I say, okay, let me make this one. Like, let me just add tills or something. I forgot how exactly I got the spell, but that was supposed to be the second attacking spell. But the second defensive spell, it was going to be, what's the name? This spell that Hermione used on Neville, that the full body binds curse. She used it on him at the end of book 1. So something. No. I think that okay. That's the second derailment spell. That's the full body bind curse. Why the first derailment spell is Expelliarmus. Then for defensive spell, I've forgotten which spell is the defensive spell. For defense, I have Protego. I have, I think I have is for defense. I have a spell where you can things will pass through you. Yes. There is a spell you can make yourself intangible, so things will pass through you. I don't know where exactly I got, but the idea is always around. The idea is everywhere. From Ben 10, Ghost Freak, and all those alias you can turn into that things will pass through. The idea was always around. I think I don't know if I also got the idea from One Piece or something, but the idea was always around. So those are the second layers, right? Then for the third spell, obviously for defense, I needed something that will heal you, so I added the healing spell. I think a peace key was also from Harry Potter. For attack, I have the beam, I have the short fireball, I have the beam spread, and I wanted something like to make fight creative where you're watching a fight. Maybe you need every fight to be different from other, and based on a way for people to use their environment to attack each other, and also a multiple spell. So I wanted them to have something like a spell where they can control things in the environment, like telekinesis, to use to, let's say you are fighting someone, table is around, you point the table at the table and throw at the person, that kind of thing. So I now get to say, okay, I'll have a spell like this. I now got the Accio spell from also, I think, from Harry Potter, from Fantastic. We got it. Then for this thing, for the final derailment spell, or is it defense? Attacking spell is AQ. For the okay, healing spell is defense. For the final derailment spell, what's the final derailment spell? Disarming. Okay, yeah, an invisibility spell to pair with the intangibility. I think I had struggle with this because intangibility and invisibility sound the same to me, but I wanted to add another spell for close range combat. That's it was supposed to be a spell like an attacking spell, like where with your wand you will now have like a lightsaber kind of something where you can use to fight close range. But I don't see space to put in it, so I just left it. Or maybe later on I might make it 13 dueling spells or something. Then the remaining spells to complete the 9 to be 12 will obviously be Avada Kedavra, Crucio, that's the pain course. Then obviously I'm not going to add Imperial, that spell was too weak. I'll look for another. I don't yet have the idea, but no, I have an idea for the spell. Because you have the killing course, you have the one for pain, Crucio. Then my other one, still taking from that idea from that Imperial, that's that mind hack something. I think it was when I read this thing, The Lies of Locke Lamora. In the end, in the villain's plan, there's something in the book, I don't know exactly what it is, wet smoke or something, where it kind of like it kills your mind or it steals your soul. I don't know how exactly it is, but you basically be like a vegetable. Like the best way I can describe it is basically like a dementor's kiss. You guess where he steals your soul or something, but you're still alive. You're just like a vegetable, like that kind of thing. So that's the spell I wanted. I'm going to use as the 13th defense, the 13th or the 12th basic dueling spell. Yeah, so I don't know. And the thing with this spell is not it's not that they are the basic spell for a reason. And the reason I still put that basic is in case I want to add more spells for dueling later on. I'm going to say okay, these are maybe the more like the 6 or 12 advanced dueling spell as opposed to basic dueling spell you get. But it's not that magicians have to use this spell to deal. It's just they are the foundation you get. Then later on, every magician will have their own ATCPs and all that, and there will still be spells for elemental magic that you can use to duel and enchantment and all this kind of thing. Just I wanted especially for this arc where I'm going to write this orphan hunt. You know, so far in orphan hunt we have been in the whole setup aspect where characters are learning the spell. Like the whole point is so that when the orphan hunt actually starts and people actually start fighting, nobody that is reading will be confused or left out. You know what's going on, you know the spell they're using. Yeah, so in this arc there is supposed to be, I think there will be about I've only written about 5 or 4 of them, but there will be about 17 fights in this arc. They were plotting it. About 17 fights you get, and when I was thinking about the fight, is like you have to the thing about planning a character powers or ATCP in relation to dueling, you have to think about that power. Then that's how I used to do it. I have to think about the power. Then it's not just you think about it, then you find a counter to it for this particular fight. You now have to think because I'm someone who I cannot write a book like before I started writing my records. I'll plot the first fact. I already have the idea of how we end in mind. Then I'll write the first chapter. Then I'll plot the entirety. That first chapter is just kind of like you have to kind of go somewhere to understand everything you get. So it's kind of like getting the feel. By the time I'm writing that first chapter, it's like foundation. I say, okay, this is how the entire book will be. I'll now plot it after that before I now start writing the book. So when I'm giving a character powers, it's not just I'm giving him preparation of this fight. I have to know every single way to counter that power. And versus everybody who you ever fight from this book 1 to book 2 to book 3, you get till that character dies or something. So that's why it's difficult, because if you give this character his own unique power, you now have to still come and give this character his own unique power and go through this whole stress of forming a new way for this particular person to defeat him that will be interesting. Then this other person who maybe they might be friends now, but since I'm the author, I'm plotting for them to maybe one of them to betray each other in book 2 or something. I still have to plan a way for this person to be able to beat him or him to be able to, like, all the ways that every new power you form, you have to find a way for them to interact with each other and to interact with the new powers that you see from later on. You get that kind of thing. So it's very difficult. That's why I wanted a baseline where okay, these are the spells that even the top level magicians will still be using these spells, you get. And the way I made them, I think I also introduced something like the cost this thing of a spell, where there are some spells that no matter who is using it, no matter how powerful this person is, the spell will always be as powerful. Like if a novice uses this spell and a master uses this spell, they will be of the same level, you get. It's just maybe the cost, maybe because this person have more essence potency, the cost won't be as much on this person as it will be on this person. But the thing is, it will be a baseline where everybody will use these powers. So I already know, okay, for me, I know what I'm working with, and it's not going to be difficult for me to say, okay, let me do it like this, let me do it like that, let me do it like that. So that's how I that's how I got to the idea for the 12 basic dueling spells. And I don't know, I think the main offer hunt will soon start. We'll start this coming Friday. That's with this entry. That's when the offer hunt will start. We're done with the whole training arc and the whole learning magic and all this stuff. We'll start the main this thing, since as you know, in the synopsis of this arc, Barocot will be the kidnap and war will break out in the department. So if you haven't caught up on Barocot, you can just visit my website, as I said in the beginning, tuva.com. Read everything. Chapter 1 is the Orphan and the Sorceress. Chapter 2 is the Order of Magic. Chapter 3 is Where to Find Them. Chapter 4 is Witch's Conundrum or Sorceress Conundrum. Then chapter 5 is this Orphan Hunt that we're currently in. So goodbye everyone.